Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trendy with Kim Allison. We are live. Can everybody hear us? Let me turn on some comments. I think you guys are there. I hope you guys are there. Okay. I'm going to assume this is happening because if you are there, anyone, just tap in the comments. Otherwise, this will be replayed, and we're gonna carry on.
Yes.
Hi, Kayla. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited.
Yes. So we're going to talk today about the effects of drugs, which include illegal, legal substances, prescription. We're not going to tap on caffeine because, it borderline, it could be considered a substance, but I don't think it's one of the biggies, the deal breakers. It does, but it does have its issues. And I believe alcohol could also be in this conversation. So we will kind of tap on that. But for the most part, we're going to talk about how you live in a mind, body, soul mindset to begin with. And let's just disclaimer this and say we are not doctors. We are hairstylists, and we're going to chat about what we deal with behind the chair, because I know sometimes our clients think that we are the knowledge, we are the knowers of all things hair, and we are once it's out of the scalp.
Right.
Once it comes through, once it breaks through, that follicle shows up, then that's when we take over. But the other half of that is you guys and how you treat your bodies. And a lot of people, they don't connect their insides with their outsides. They want to go straight to fixing the problem when the problem started long before it actually became symptomatic.
Right.
So let's get into some slides we have for you guys. This is going to be the agenda for today's live. We're going to do an introduction real quick, which is us right now. Then we're going to talk about meds and hair health. We're going to talk about illegal drugs and hair health and what we can do. And then we're going to Q&A and wrap it up from there. All right, so let's get into it. All right, just as I talked about before, you guys, we talk about that mind, body, and soul. And, we've all heard the term, yet we don't practice it. We wonder why things go wrong on the outside of our bodies, but we don't consider that the root problem likely comes from the inside. So that leads me to the everything is good until it isn't method, I call it. And my clients all know this. We look for external resources to fix everything because we want it fixed now. We are in a fight or flight state. Our bodies, we're desperate. It's acute. It's happening. And that's where a Western medicine approach thrives, because they prescribe you things. They laser you. They cut, burn, drug. That's what they do. That's what they're trained to do. No fault. No, it's just that style of practicing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, that's how they choose to treat their body. So let me say that too. This is no judgment on how you choose to treat your body. Your body is your temple. It belongs to you, not us. Next, I call it the everything is just okay until it's optimal method. And that's how I personally choose to treat my body, more of the natural, holistic way, meaning there's always room for improvement, practicing preventing things before they happen. And that would be more of an Eastern medicine. That's where it thrives. We're going to get into basic hair anatomy, and hair anatomy can go, it can go on for days. And that's why I'm generalizing this. And we're going to hit, because this little strand right here, this thing has a million more names, but we're going to just cover the basics in this case, which are the blood vessels, hypodermis, Oh, hello. Who's joining us today? Did I just hear somebody?
I don't know.
I swear I thought I heard somebody. Anyway, we're gonna do we're gonna do we're gonna cover blood vessels, hypodermis, dermal papilla, which is the root, dermis, epidermis, hair follicle, and then the hair strand. And I'm going to break these down real quick because before we can really get into our topic today, we have to just have a general understanding of what these things mean and what they do and how, and so that you can grasp the importance of you know before the hair even comes out of the root, or I'm sorry, out of the scalp. Okay. The blood vessels, they deliver oxygen and nutrients, they remove waste, and they promote growth. So you can see now, right, very basic start before we can even get to the scalp. What you put in your body, what runs through your bloodstream, that's going to affect healthy hair. Hypodermis, which is the subcutaneous, I swear to God, these words, subcutaneous tissue. So the hypodermis, that's the house. That's the environment that houses, all the things beneath the root. It supplies blood vessels and nutrients to the base of the follicle. It stores fat that insulates the root, holds the follicle in place. So it just kind of nails it down so it stays in place. The dermal papilla root, that's the conductor. That tells the stem cells to produce new hair shafts during growth cycle. Any change can contribute to hair thinning and hair loss, and it provides nutrients. So you can imagine, it just starts layering, and every little step means something. And then you have the dermis. That contains your sebaceous glands. It secretes sebum, which is the oily lubricant that produces shine. So when your hair doesn't have shine, it's dull. When it's dull, you come to us as hairdressers and you say, "What can I take to make my hair shiny?" Well, again, before we can enter the conversation, we have to make sure these things are optimal, really, because topical things, they can work up to a point, but they don't last because of what's going on in the inside.
Right.
Then we have the epidermis, which produces your keratin, which is very important. And we have the hair follicle, which is the opening. The hair grows through this opening. And then we've got the hair. Now here is where hairstylists come in. Now here we are. The hair is now out of the scalp.
A hairstylist enters the chat right now.
Yes. Now here we are. So here's a quick review of the hair growth cycle. We have the anagen phase, the catagen phase, and the telogen phase. And later on, you'll get to learn why this is important. So these phases are the anagen phase. It's the active phase, 2 to 6 years. That's when your hair is in its growth phase. 90% of your hair always stays in this phase. And then we have phase 2, the catagen phase. And that's when the hair detaches from the blood supply, moves to a resting phase for about 2 weeks. And then it goes into the telogen phase, where hair is dormant for about a year. And this is the important part, because this is where I feel like we've been misinformed. Only about 10% of the hair is in this phase. It's not your whole head. And so that 10%, the hair is weaker, it has less pigment, and you see that white bulb, which is the keratin at the root. That's when you know it's the healthy telogen phase. That hair is supposed to come out. And that's when you start losing 100 hairs per day. It's only during this phase, that 10% of your hair. So I know, a lot of times we think, oh, every single day, if I see 100 hairs, that's normal. Actually, that's not that normal. So here's where it becomes abnormal. That's if your hair ends up in the telogen. Here we go, Kayla. Effluvium.
There you go.
Effluvium phase. That's when temporary hair shedding it occurs when a large number of hair follicles enter the telogen phase, which is the resting phase, prematurely. And that obviously disrupts the normal growth cycle, causing abnormal shedding. That's when it's just, whoa, you run your hands through and you have a gob full of hair. Mm-hmm. So, what are the causes of this? Physical or emotional stress, medication and drugs, hormonal changes, nutritional deficiencies, illness, or surgery. So, Kayla, what have your experiences been behind the chair with said things?
I mean,
you've got stories. I love them.
I do. I have so many stories. I think it's important to remember that, you know, like you said, we're not doctors. However, I think, you know, being behind the chair and seeing so many clients, you really start to learn, you know, different things and how the hair reacts to, you know, different phases of a client's life through so many things, kind of like you said, hormonal changes, you know, pregnancies, all the things, you know, and people, you know, life goes through ebbs and flows. So as, you know, your clients will, you know, might be more stressed out, you're going to notice that in their hair, you know, in certain ways. So I think it's definitely important to kind of learn about, because I think so many people just don't even think, you know, like to kind of start with internal. And I always, anytime a client has a concern, I'm like, okay, well, there's a good chance it's either one of two things. It's either, you know, outside factors, you'll be able to tell, but you can also tell if it's like an inside factor. And this is the perfect example of, you know, what I mean by all the inside factors. But I think especially with, you know, drugs and different, I guess, medications or however you want to use them, when you take advantage of certain drugs, or people, you know, over the years, I've seen it all, honestly. But for example, you know, I had a client who, when I was an assistant, she came in and she was on some type of meth, not, you know, anything. I don't even know where to begin, but immediately when you, we were doing a full highlight, immediately when we put the bleach in a foil, it got super, super hot, started dripping. And instantly it's that chemical reaction. And so many people don't think, you know, anything. They're like, oh, I'm just getting my hair done. You know, like it's just this, but there's so much that goes on underneath it. And so in her case, immediately you have to rinse the hair out, because whatever chemical reaction is going on is not good. And a lot of times you'll find, you know, damage and breakage and all the things. It can go south really fast.
You know, and I think that's interesting that you say that, because I don't think people, again, relate their insides with what's going on the outside.
Right.
Because if you've got chemicals going on inside and then you put another chemical on the hair, which is connected to your bloodstream, your blood vessels, why wouldn't it have a reaction? We learned that in science class in the 5th grade.
Right. And I think it's important to note that, you know, just because you have, you know, you may have drugs in your system or medications in your system, it's not like a one size fits all. You know, you have something in your system and next time you go and get your hair done, it's going to be, you know, a disaster or something's going to happen. I think it's important for hairstylists, especially newer stylists, to just be aware, you know, and also clients to be aware that these things can happen and it's out of our control. But that's why you come to us, because we know how to handle it when these things do. But from a, you know, a younger stylist perspective, it's important to know that these things can happen. So whenever I see a client and I notice some type of chemical reaction of some way, I take a note of it, and it doesn't surprise me, but it's also, I wouldn't say it's common, but it doesn't surprise me. So
absolutely,
kind of just know how to handle it, and you kind of fall back on, you know, the core things you know about hair. But it's just something to keep in mind and to think about from a client's point of view, and also, you know, a hairstylist point of view. Just because it doesn't happen every single time doesn't mean it's never going to happen, or, you know, anything crazy when it does. But there's also times when, for example, you know, even something like cocaine or any kind of drug like that, when you put it into your body, it also comes out through your hair, and it can be a chemical reaction, you know, whether the color, you know, you're putting on the hair doesn't take the way you want it to. It could turn other colors. It could not take. There's so many different, you know, reactions that could happen out of it. So I think the biggest thing is just the knowledge and knowing that it could happen. And then if it does, you're like, okay, I know where to take it.
Well, let's talk about that specifically. So I did a lot of research on this because, again, we're not doctors, we're not medical professionals. We're just speaking from the perspective of hairstylist and what we see behind the chair. And I see that one person has joined us. Thank you. Hello. Cocaine, methamphetamines. I don't even pronounce that right. Methamphetamines. May I never be on that. No judgment if that is your journey. Ecstasy can affect hair health. Nutrient deplete, and here's the reasons why. Nutrient depletion damages the scalp, textural changes, dryness, hair loss. Toxins accumulate in hair, causing unusual reactions, which is what Kayla just spoke about. You never know what's going to happen when you open that foil or when you put that chemical on, if we have to work against something that might be in your bloodstream. Mm-hmm. And then we've got lifestyle of someone that uses recreational drugs, rather illegal or legal. You have dehydration, malnutrition, and obviously nutrient-dense foods are so important to a healthy body, hence having a healthy hair as a byproduct. Then we've got stress, exacerbation, because obviously if you're on any type of substance, I don't care what it is, alcohol, it doesn't matter what it is, your body's going to be a little taxed because your organs are working overtime. Yeah. Cannabis, which is legal, however, it still has its effects on hair. Potential impact on hair follicles. Some studies suggest that the active compounds in marijuana, particularly THC, may bind to receptors in hair follicles, potentially disrupting the normal growth cycle and contributing to hair loss or thinning hair. So yes, that backs up everything that you just said, which we'll get into now. Medication and all of its goodness. Oh, I have a love-hate with medication. I mean, I love it for you if it's working for you and it's giving you a better quality of life. Mm-hmm. This is not a conversation to place judgment in any direction, to condemn in any way. These are just methodologies, schools of thoughts. There is a holistic school of thought, and there is a Western, what we call Western medicine, what we practice in this country. And so that's just a fact. So we're just going to kind of talk about both roads. So if you are someone who, you know, is on medication, who is bound to medication, and, you know, sometimes Western medicine, for all of its faults, what I love about it is if it's acute, if it's trauma, I'm going Western because, mm-hmm. you know, if you break your arm, I'm sorry, there's nothing naturally that's going to repair it. Right. You know what I'm saying? If you have cancer, you know, depending on how you want to treat that, that's a toss. So things like that. So if you've had a transplant or anything like that, those anti-rejection medications, anything, I mean, this is just for your information only and things that you could be mindful of. Yep. So weight loss drugs, we're seeing a lot of that, the one that everybody's on, but nobody's on. We're lot of that in our chairs. Semaglutide, whatever, all the brands.
Yeah.
It causes thinning and loss due to rapid weight loss or nutrient depletion, sends the hair into a telogen effluvium phase. And I'm going to stop every time I say that word. That word is hard.
It is very hard.
So it's going to send it into that phase. And oh, hi, Jamila. So it's going to send it into that phase, and it just does, and largely because of the lack of nutrients. And I'm not sure what the diet is or whatever, but it's temporary. That's what the telogen effluvium phase is. It's a temporary hair shedding and hair loss phase, which means the good news is your hair will return.
Mm-hmm.
So we have antidepressants and anxiety meds. They can lead to hair thinning or loss. We have birth control. Hormonal changes can impact hair growth. Oftentimes it gives you more hair, yay. And then we've got blood pressure meds. Some can trigger hair loss. And again, consult with your doctor. We're not doctors. We're just giving you information here. So Kayla, you're going to talk a little bit about medication and what you're experiencing behind the chair.
I think I notice a ton. I've had a lot of experiences with it, different medications, and also just different, I guess, issues in general. I have a few clients with like a thyroid disorder. So a thyroid disorder in and of itself, your hair is going to take toner differently, maybe take color differently, but because the thyroid a lot of times might be hyper, hypo. I have one client who has no thyroid, so she's on medication for it. When I tone her hair, I have to keep in mind that her hair doesn't take toner. It's super dull. So it doesn't take toner like it normally would. So I have to add a ton of warmth into toning her hair. And it's something that I've kind of learned. I learned really quickly on when I started doing her hair, and it was kind of like a trial and error on how to get my end result, how I have to formulate to get that, because it's not just like it's not how I'd formulate for, other clients. And my mom is on a lot of diuretics. And I started doing her hair, I think it maybe, she got diagnosed with diabetes maybe within the last year or two. So she's on Ozempic, a lot of diuretics, all the things. And the first time I did her hair after she started taking those medications, I did permanent color, highlights, lowlights, all the things. And I went to rinse her, and all the color just washed right out. None of it stuck. And I mean, I've been doing her hair for years, and I'm like, are you on any different medications? And I didn't even think to ask, and there was a whole list of medications. And so the good news with that is, and kind of anything that we're talking about, there are ways to cleanse your hair, kind of get rid of all of that buildup, no matter what it is, and kind of have a fresh start. So just because, you might be on medications for things that are out of your control, or, doing things that are in your control but are going to affect your hair, it's not an end all be all. There are things we can do as hairstylists to fix that.
Yes, and one being chelating shampoo, like the chelating shampoo. And there's a difference between the two. So you have your clarifying shampoo, and then you have your chelating shampoo. And chelating is spelled Chehlating. You'll see that word. And what it means is it's more of a, it's got a stronger ability, I guess, for lack of a better word, than a clarifying shampoo. A clarifying shampoo is a gentle way to remove buildup, whereas a chelating shampoo, that's what's going to get your heavy minerals off, or the heavy metals rather, all of those unnecessary minerals, chlorine. Like if you swim every single day, you're going to want to use a chelating shampoo, because it's just got it's got a more of a potency than your average clarifying shampoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely ways you can, not have them, play a part, but it's still, like we're talking about, good to kind of keep in mind. Hormonal is a huge one. Anytime I get a client that is, newly pregnant, all the way up until, a year postpartum, I always keep in the back of my mind that anytime I could do their hair, it could, lift in bands and just kind of create a bunch of problems. And it might not happen their whole pregnancy or, the time after that they give birth, but it could happen, months later. And kind of like I talked about before, it's not that I wouldn't expect it necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen, because your body, it goes through so much, through pregnancy, and your hormones, anytime they change, whether it's birth control, pregnancy,
or menopause.
Yep, exactly. So it's just kind of good to keep in mind, because you really never know. And a lot of times it's funny, because you can tell when someone got pregnant. You can see when their hormones changed if you look at their hair. It's really interesting to see. And not only that, when you put, bleach on the hair, you can really see it will lift in bands. It can.
Well, your hair is your health.
Yep.
Just like anything else that comes out of your body, which should go unnamed. There are a lot of things that come out of our body, and you're supposed to look at them, because that is it signifies just how healthy you are.
Right.
And on a hair strand, it's just like a tree. You can look at it and see the whole life and history just by looking at that hair strand. It's really interesting.
It's so interesting.
And if we go back, to people, obviously your generation, people are still having babies. My generation, we're trying to figure out a way to never have one ever again. Thank God. And our body goes through menopause, and you start losing hair. And, I have so many clients, they call it wedding band hair, where you can fit your whole ponytail through a wedding ring. It's crazy, and it's just, and they say, God, I used to have so much hair. What happened to all my hair? I'm like, I know, mine included. But all of this research actually has given me more knowledge that I can use not only on myself, but I can apply from behind the chair. And that's another episode that I want to do on just thinning hair and alopecia and all of that, because it's a whole nother conversation. But, this telogen effluvium phase, that is huge, I am finding, because whether it's through medication, whether it's through drugs, whether it's through menopause, that is the phase your hair is in. And what I'm learning is it doesn't have to stay there. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because if you've had like bald spots or thinning spots, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've done everything. I've taken every vitamin. I've taken this and that and the other. I mean, get your blood work done, see what you're deficient in, and fill those gaps. It's literally that simple.
100%.
Genetics play a role. People don't factor that in. Where you start matters. If you have good genes, that gives you a fighting chance. If not so good, you're behind the 8 ball to even start. So when you come to us as hairdressers and you're bringing your genetics along with you, like, oh, my hair won't get thick. And it's like, well, we have to ask, what does your mom's hair look like? Your dad, what are your, when you look at your elders, what is the growth pattern? Because there's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing you can take. There's nothing you can eat. All you can do is be optimal. You can do the best that you can do within your control, based on what you eat, the supplements you take, how you treat your body. But those genetics, it's like if I want to be a model and I'm 5'1", okay, those are my genetics. So the girl that's 5'11", who do you think has the advantage? She does. Doesn't mean I can't be a model, right? It just means it's going to be that much harder. I'm going to have the best face, the best body, the best everything in order to have a fighting chance. So I love analogies, and I thought of that because that's hair.
Yep.
That's something you just where you the hand you got dealt, that's just what it is.
Yep.
So let's talk about, to give our audience some hope, what we can control. So we can control, like I said, a nutrient dense diet, the vitamins we take that we're deficient in. We can drink plenty of water. We can do scalp massage with hydrating serums, which I'm going to give you some links at the end that you can click on and find said things. We can do breathing exercises that increase oxygen supply to the scalp, exercise, and this is the cute one. You can hang your head over the edge of your bed to increase blood supply to your scalp. No longer than 5 minutes, though. Please don't die.
No, literally.
And again, consult your healthcare provider, please, before you do any of these things. But all of these things are going to help. So if you're experiencing, your hair is not just performing optimally, it's not shining, it's dull, it's breaking, it's brittle, it's thinning, whatever. These are things that you can do. Now I want to go over these vitamins. Really, really important, you guys, these vitamins. Niacin, vitamin B3, vitamin A, zinc, iron, proteins. Why niacin? It improves blood circulation to the scalp, which leads to less hair fall, less thinning, and faster, thicker hair growth. Why vitamin B3? It enhances blood circulation. Since vitamin B3 is in charge of delivering energy, it promotes hair blood circulation and delivery to oxygen and nutrient to the hair follicles. This improves healthy hair growth and gives the hair sheen and suppleness by improving hair texture. Why vitamin A? Vitamin A plays a crucial role in promoting the production of sebum by hair follicles, a natural oil that nourishes the scalp and hair. Additionally, it enhances blood circulation to the scalp, ensuring the delivery of oxygen and essential nutrients to the hair roots. Why zinc? Zinc is crucial for hair growth because it plays a vital role in the development and maintenance of hair follicles, supporting the production of keratin, the protein that makes up hair strands, regulating hormone levels that impact hair growth, and facilitating cell division necessary for healthy hair growth and repair. A zinc deficiency can lead to hair loss, thinning, and breakage. Why iron? Iron is crucial for hair growth because it is a key component of hemoglobin, a protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen throughout the body, including to the hair follicles. Without sufficient iron, hair follicles cannot receive the necessary oxygen for healthy hair growth and can lead to hair loss when deficient. Why is protein important? Lastly, when the body has enough protein building blocks, keratin production in hair follicles occurs normally, leading to optimal growth phases. Why not biotin? And everybody says, don't they? I take biotin. A biotin deficiency may lead to hair loss, and supplements may aid hair growth. However, evidence has not shown that biotin supplements can boost hair growth in those without a deficiency. Biotin is an essential B vitamin that helps the body get energy and nutrients from carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. And that is the misconception, because biotin, if you're not deficient, which most people aren't, then it's just a waste. It's not doing anything.
Which I think that goes back to the importance of getting your hormones checked so that you know what you're taking, is for a reason and what to take.
Absolutely. And again, everybody, consult with your doctor, please. These are only suggestions. Some foods, if you don't do meds or supplements, you can do that. I find if you focus on nothing else, focus on niacin. Niacin-rich proteins, which are chicken, beef, fish, turkey. If you don't do meats, niacin-rich produce, green peas, mushrooms, brown rice, peanuts, and avocados. All right, everybody. That concludes our episode. Kayla, what do you have to share?
I think that was really good. I think, so many clients like don't even think about these things and, kind of have complaints or they're not like in love with their hair or they know it could be better. And it's kind of like, where do I even start? So I think this is perfect to kind of shed light on, possible reasons why your hair not be the best that it could be, and also kind of touch base on where to start. Because it definitely can be overwhelming when you think, you're like, I use all these products. They're all, professional grade, and my hair still is just not what I want it to be. I think it's good to kind of look even further and look into everything we talked about today.
Absolutely. And I see we have someone with us. Who do we have? Hit us up in the comments. Hello. Is it still you, Jamila? I hope so. We just went over a lot of vitamins, and I can do just like a quick run through of what those vitamins were. I think that'll be neat. We did, without me going into all the details, because this will be available on the YouTube, but vitamins that you can take just for optimal, just to do the best that you can do for your body and your hair. Niacin, number one, is my number one. Vitamin B3, and all your B vitamins include biotin. So there's no reason to take biotin by itself if you're not deficient in biotin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the misconception there. Vitamin A, zinc, iron, proteins. And why these are so important is just quick run through. Niacin improves blood circulation for all the goodness. And same thing, B3, I think the key point is oxygen, and it gets nutrients to the hair follicles. A creates, it helps produce more sebum, which creates shine. We've got zinc. Obviously, it's important for many reasons, our immune health especially, but it helps regulate hormone levels that can impact the hair growth and facilitates cell division necessary for healthy hair growth and repair. Iron, it's a key component of hemoglobin, a protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen through the body, including the hair follicles. And protein, because that's keratin reproduction, and that is so important to hair health. And again, don't need biotin unless you're deficient. And here are some foods that you can eat that will help you just naturally ingest niacin, where you don't have to take a supplement. All righty. I think, did we cover everything?
I think so.
Have we educated powers that be out there who have questions about hair loss and what medication does? And again, connect your insides with your outsides. I can't stress that enough. What's going on in the inside needs to happen first before we can do anything behind the chair.
Yep.
Working from the outside.
100%. I think we kind of covered all the bases. And I think, ultimately just to start the conversation and kind of go from there is the biggest thing, bringing awareness, because knowledge is power. So the more you know, the more you know where to start.
Absolutely. All right. I would say then it's a wrap.
Yay.
Kayla, have the best day. You were so great. Thank you for coming on your Sunday afternoon. And for anyone watching, thank you for tuning in. And I'll be doing these for sure in the future, and anybody that wants to join me. And all said, have a good night.
Yay. Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.